Half price books clearance sale. All of these comics were 50 cents a piece. I've already done 2 other videos where I talked about these, so this is the last stack. Those will take us from K to Z. I bought Klaus #1 by Grant Morrison and Dan Mora. This is a sort of a barbarian version of Santa Claus. I've read this, I have this in the classroom collected, and surprisingly fun. But it's nice to have a single issue to pass on to kids. Madman, this is the a supersized special. I think it's published by Image. Yeah, this is Image. And it's got a sort of Mike Allred framing device, and then it kicks over to some other cartoonists. Matt Kint did some. I don't know how to say this guy's name. I'm going to put it up here. I think it's Tansy Zanjic. He's definitely the draw of this one. He's got a very, very cool Tothy type style. So, Alex Toth. So, again, I love Madman. I got to admit, it's one of those books where I prefer the earlier issues than the newer issues. I know artists grow and change, and I am down for that 100%. But there's something about the earlier issues that are a lot more magical to me than some of the later stuff. But I still love it. Madman is a gateway book for me as far as getting me into the world of alternative comics in the 90s. This was not. Magneto #1. I picked this up. I don't know why I picked this up. It's got some John Bolton stories in here, and it's got one truly terrible Fabian Nicieza story in here. I did try to read this last night because it was some short stories, and the first 2 Claremont stories are great, and the last one I could not follow. So, Mr. Monster Attacks at Gem City Comic-Con this year. Michael Gilbert was a guest. And I've read some of his stuff, and I like Mr. Monster. And so I don't know exactly what this was. Just a one-shot. I guess it was a 3-issue miniseries. Mr. Monster always looked like one of those characters that I would like, but I just never really found any of his stuff as a kid. So I'm kind of reverse engineering a fandom for it. There is a nice story in here that is a team up between Gilbert and Dave Gibbons. That looks really nice. Tundra Publishing, Mr. Monster Attacks. A copy of New Teen Titans 60. Yeah. Ninja Elite. I got #1 and #2 of Ninja Elite. Published by, let's see, Adventure Publications. The art is by James Fletcher, who, again, I don't have a deep bench of comic artist knowledge, but this guy looks like he was pretty influenced by Bernie Wrightson, to my eyes anyway. And it's a ninja comic, airbrushed covers. Well, I haven't read it yet, but I'll check it out. Omega the Unknown, #7. I'll be real, the only reason I bought this is it blew my mind that there was a Gary Panther Marvel Comics cover that was published. I just thought that was bananas. The minute I saw it, it was in the bag. Optic Nerve #11. I may have this collected, I may not. This is definitely rescue mission type thing. God, he's good. I'm looking forward to some of the new stuff that he puts out there. Adrian Tamine. I am very, very excited. And it was cool to find this. A couple of issues of Paper Girls. Paper Girls 2, 3, and 4. I guess Paper Girls is done now. I've been giving these away like crazy. I think they were ordered appropriately by comic stores, and now comic stores sort of have them in the dollar bins, quarter bins, and kids love it. This is an easy sell to my students. Did you watch Stranger Things? Did you like Stranger Things? This is right up your alley. And there's some cool stuff that Brian K. Vaughan does with the language of the comic. that really make kids kind of like stop and think. When you read a comic, sometimes I especially notice with my students, sometimes they're just reading the words and they're not stopping on anything else. They're not like stopping to look at the art, and you got to kind of train yourself to do that. But the way that these are designed, a lot of the times you do have to stop, because what's going on in the word balloons is you got to think about it a little bit. So I don't know. I think it's a great book, and I'm sorry that it's gone, but I'm glad that it's going to live on in trades, and I'll be a pusher for this book for quite a long time. This is Phineas, Magician for Hire, number 5. A crazy cover. This was published in 1996 out of Pittsburgh. It's kind of amateurish, but I really like it in a lot of places. It's definitely it's a magic thing. I don't know that the cover has anything to do with anything that's going on. I guess I should read it. Yeah. Feels weird. I know that doesn't come across really well on a video, but the entire book feels weird. Yeah. I don't know. I'd probably pick up another issue if I found it. Punisher 50, I was suckered by this because it had a Michael Golden cover. So I bought it, and it does not have any Michael Golden interior artwork. But what a cover. Question number 1. I think I pulled this out of the stack that had that question 17 in it. Rip, number 1 and number 2. This is Marv Wolfman, Pat Olaf. I think that's how you say his name. It's well colored. This came out in the 90s, like 1990. TSR, so this probably has something to do with role-playing games of some kind. Honestly, sort of the airbrush cover is what drew me in. When I looked at the interiors, it's probably not for me, but I mean, the logo's cool. I got a whole run of The Secret History of D.B. Cooper. I don't know anything about this book, but 5 issues, and that was $2.50. Original cover price was $4, so I think I came out on top on that one. Secret Invasion number 1. It's got an area where you can draw something. I thought I'd draw something for a student on the first day of school. Yeah, there's better blank comic covers. I've been like kind of drawing through some of them, but I like the little framing thing. I think that kind of just allows for like a headshot or something. I don't have to come up with anything like too elaborate. SpiderMan 2099 number 1. I lost my copy of SpiderMan. Oh, my copy of SpiderMan 2099 was lost in the flood. So sad. But for real, this was a book that I liked a lot as a kid. This was one of the ones that Marvel published where it was just like, oh, okay, so like I'm in on the ground floor with this one. Of all the 2099 stuff, this was probably the only one that I cared at all about. And it's kind of a beater copy, but, you know, it's cool. Strontium Dog, number 1, published by Eagle Comics. It just looks like this is a reprint book. I have no big, deep background in Strontium Dog. He's definitely a named character. I recognize that character. So, gonna check that out. There's definitely some investigation to be had there. It's a cool cover. Tyrannosaurus Text by James Van Hise and Ron Wilbur. This is from Monster Comics, which I think is Fantagraphics. I think this is the Monster imprint. Black and white. It's cool. Dinosaurs. Ken Stacy, Tempest Fugitive. This is some airbrush type style. Ken Stacy, I mainly know him because I think he did a lot of art on like trading cards and stuff. Again, it's a nice copy. It's number 1. A little different. Vertigo Jam number 1. I picked this up, believe it or not, for my wife, who likes Neil Gaiman but has not really read any of his comics. So she's read some of his prose books. I am a big believer that the story that's in here, The Castle, by Neil Gaiman and Kevin Nolan, is a really good introduction to the Sandman world if you are not sure if you want to jump right in to the trades. The trades, especially in the early going, I find can be a little intimidating. The art styles I love in there. I love the Sam Keith, the Dringenberg, or Mike Dringenberg, but sometimes that might be a barrier. Kevin Nolan artwork's really clean. I think this really presents the idea of what the Sandman is about in a very, very nice, concise way. You get to meet the cast of characters, and then it's, off to the races. There's also a bunch of other collections in here. So you've got like a Garth Ennis, Steve Dillon, Hellblazer. This was basically a sampler for what was going on in Vertigo during the time that this was published. So that would be, I guess, sometime in the early 90s, 92, 93. Yeah, that Sandman story is a great one. I got a big run of XMen. A lot of these are edging on the Jim Lee era of X-Men. Here's Jim Lee inked by Kevin Nolan, which is nice. I wasn't sure where some of that ended. It's the first appearance of Bishop, which I do not believe anybody cares about at all now. But I used to have these books. I got rid of them a long time ago. X-Men is an easy pass on to my students, so I got them. I also bought some X Factors, including this issue of X Factor. This is, I guess, the famous issue where the characters in X Factor visit a psychologist individually. Peter David wrote that. Remember liking that. All right, we took it all the way to Z. Zombie War #1 by Fanico and Tundra. This is Kevin Eastman and Eric Talbot and Tom Scallan. And if you dig Kevin Eastman, you will dig this comic. It is everything you could want. Very, very cool, baby. That's a good shot to go out on. I think I spent something like $70 on everything that you saw here today, but like I said, the 3 comics in my first video will probably end up paying for most of this. And I am an easy mark for 50-cent books, so I was happy to spend my Saturday morning plowing through. It was nice stuff.